Carolyne. Welcome. Carolyne is at Flagstaff, where she's the community worker, and she sent me a lovely long bio, but I said she'd probably do that, and it's pretty exciting what's going on there, so welcome along and thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. Thank you. Awesome. Oh wow, to be here in front of everybody and to be asked to speak on the same question that Andrew and Michael were. If I had a chance to plant a New Zealand church, what would be its focus, what could it look like, and who would be involved? That's right up my alley. I love to dream. Love to dream big, and if I don't have to think about how it's going to happen, that's awesome, because I think, I want this, and then I say to my husband, I want this big thing in front of the door, and I don't care how it happens, it just has to happen, you know, so, yeah, love it. An opportunity to create a model, and my focus would be on being in the community. So as Bruce briefly introduced, I work full-time for Flagstaff Community Church in our community to raise the profile for our church and, more importantly, to facilitate serving our community wherever the needs lie. And sometimes that can lie in funny places. So that's interesting. I might not talk a lot about what's going to happen between 9:30 and 10:30 on a Sunday morning, but rather what's happening all around that during the week, where the community of both believers and unbelievers are sharing the same space, which I feel is equally important. And some visionary sort of type statements could be a church that invites others to become part of God's family and which is working to transform our community to the glory of God. Or a church where people feel they belong to a family that grows in faith. I love that analogy of family, where we all come together, rather like Christmas dinner at a table. All ages are at the table together, the youngest are cared for, modelled to and corrected by all the family. The newest members, the girlfriends, the new son-in-laws who are attending for the first time are welcomed. Room is made at the table for them. Introductions to the traditions of the way we do this are given by those people who surround them. Before I begin unpacking a little bit further, I want to acknowledge that actually most of my ideas and thoughts I've collected from lots of different places. So just to acknowledge a couple of those from a guy called David Enwich, who delivers a placemaking seminar to big city councils. From Vicar Jeff Watley from St John's in Egham, England, who was visiting here a couple of months ago and shared lots of his initiatives with us. And from this wonderful book I found from 2009, Jeff Ellerly's study research project entitled Researching Kiwi Cultures. Fantastic book. And my supervisor, who I shared lots of stuff with. So my background is in primary school teaching, so I'm going to use a model in the classroom, so you'll be my class, when asking children to brainstorm a new concept, when we're thinking about a new thing or a new way to do it. It's really good for vision type things. Make sure you've covered all the bases. And it's called a Y chart. No PowerPoint for me, sorry. So you have to make the Y with your hands. Okay, so we're going to make a Y. Right. Now in the middle there's a word called, what is it going to look like? Look. And in here it's like, what's it going to sound like? And in here, what's it going to feel like? Okay, thank you, white people. So, what's it going to look like, first of all? I reckon this is the easiest one to describe. I believe visual, what things look like, or because I'm a visual learner, it's a huge puller, it's a huge inviter, it's a feel comfortable thing. If it looks okay, I'm going to step into it. So let's see what it might look like. So you'll use your imaginations a little bit here. So where is situated would be the biggie for me. As I said, I just have to dream this. It doesn't have to be practical. I love the model of the local church and the local community in a geographical sense. And I know this isn't always possible in all churches, but it's my model. So it'll be in the centre of a community, not down the side street, round three bends and up the hill, but on the main street. People will always be walking past it to get to the bus, to the shops, to the school. David Enwich's work with placemaking is all about visual appeal in the city centres. He talks about making a home in the public domain. We are always a society in motion. We're always going somewhere, we're always trying to get to somewhere, we're always moving. Let's change that to a place where people will stop and engage, rather than just walk past on their way to somewhere. What would make people stop outside our New Zealand church? So therefore, it's got to start on the outside. Here's some ideas. Throw them at you. A giant chess set on the front lawn. That would make people stop. The old table tennis table that's tucked around the back, put it on the front lawn with some bats and a ball. That would make people stop. Rather than planting the community garden at the back of the church and round the side, plant it by the footpath with a sign that says, help yourself. What about a memorial garden or a remembrance garden to the side? A well-tended garden where local people can place plaques for loved ones. Because for many in today's age, a visit to the cemetery can be difficult due to transport or time. What about an outdoor area with some play equipment and perhaps a barbecue? New Zealanders, we love to barbecue. What about our signage? It's always at the front. Is it in one language? Or is it in several languages? Someone walking past from a different ethnicity thinks, that's my language. They know my language. It's a connecting point. They immediately feel something familiar. Make our signage change periodically. It's like, oh, that's the sign. And after a while, you don't even see it anymore. But if it changes, it's like, oh, what have they got this week? Oh, what have they got this month? People looking for the new message, the new visual. Is it eye-catching and provoking? Our signage should enthusiastically advertise what we have to offer you. Just like the 50% off sale. It should be, messy church happening tonight. Come along. What about our buildings themselves? The church building is the physical home of the local congregation. This building needs to reflect something of the warmth, light, joy and hospitality of the God we worship. Quality buildings spawn ministry. They become a magnet for the local community and therefore a means of proclaiming the gospel. So, I'm thinking a pretty large-ish building. May need to be multi-storied, with many rooms. Looks inviting as it has to be bright paint. From the footpath, I can see my way clearly to the front door, or there are clear directions. And what I can see through the windows looks pretty exciting. Might want to have a look at that a bit closer. Do you have a mental image standing from the footpath? What our church might look like? Let's move inside and see what it looks like in there. Once inside, the door spaces are labelled, signpost, maybe in more than just one language, so we know where to go. Yep, I can see the central chapel area, but surrounding this there are many more rooms. There are offices, ministry rooms that can be multi-use, a kitchen, maybe a cafe, and toilet areas. I can see from the information on the walls, leaflets and photos that it's not just church on Sunday that meets here. There's also the antenatal class, the main music group, a bereavement group, icons, it goes on. I also see that WINS will be here on the first floor on Wednesdays. Fantastic! I don't have to catch 2 buses to town for my appointment. I can make an appointment right here. Let's give some thought to the toilets. Important part. There are clear directions on where these are. When we go in there, there's a certain, wow, this is a nice, because they're lovely, they're clean, there's a changing table for my baby. There's even goodies for me, soap and moisturiser. This is going to make a difference in how I view this church, believe it or not. The kitchen area usually has someone in it and delicious food coming out of it. Good food not only feeds the body, but it also builds the community when shared together. And let's not forget, good coffee. Inside, the chapel worship area can look different for different purposes, so nothing's chained or nailed to the floor. For one service, it might be tables and chairs. For another service, it might be piles of cushions. Looks a bit like the lounge. Remember, homemaking in the public domain. For another service, there might be seating for the hymn service. Yet another service allows spaces for individuals to do artwork as they reflect on a particular passage. I can see from the church bulletin there isn't just a service here on Sundays at 10:30, but several other services. Also, some on Sundays and some during the week. I read about the side door service, which meets once a month for art, reading, space, and time for personal reflection. Interesting. I hope through that you build up a significant visual picture of our New Zealand church, both outside and inside. Let's move on to what it would sound like. So we're going to use our tauranga to listen. If we were to close our eyes and just use our sense of hearing, what would our New Zealand church sound like? Once again, let's begin outside. Walking past, there will be sound all the time, not just on Sundays. You will hear people talking as they gather vegetables, as they walk around the remembrance garden, the sound of people playing table tennis outside. Maybe some of the sounds are in a language I don't know. There will be the sound of cars constantly coming and going from the car park, as they've attended one of the many groups or activities that are here. As we walk inside, just using our sense of hearing, what does it sound like? It's not quiet. The sound that surprises me the most is the laughter. Humour is part of the culture of our church. If I listen, I can hear multiple voices excitedly talking together. On another visit, I might hear those same voices in earnest prayer together, supporting each other. These are the voices of the ministry team, both paid and volunteer, who have space in the church to work from and interact with each other, who meet regularly for prayer and for planning. As I move from room to room, the noises are all different. There's the sound of children's songs and the beating of sticks on buckets used as drums. There's the recorded voice of the instructor, leading a group of people through the Steady As You Go program. There's the voice of the counsellor, who's in a session with a client. The voices are old, young, male and female, excited. What about in the church worship area? What does it sound like in there? Is it quite different in the foyer? Is it hushed? No, it sounds the same. The mixture of voices, the excitedness. There's music here that I can join in with, depending on what service I walk into. Each one will be different. I can hear multiple voices during the services. The voices change regularly. The voices come from all around the room, not just the front. But people are adding conversation from the back, the sides, the cushions. There is conversation within small groups in the church. Maybe they're discussing a question, or meeting some new people and getting to know them over the coffee break mid-service. There are times of quiet reflection at a particular service, or I could choose to attend one of the prayer stations that is quiet and meditative prayer, rather than the prayer station that asked me to write on a post-it note a prayer as if I was on the road to Emmaus, talking with Jesus. When I talked to one of the ministry team about all the different church services they offer, the reply sounded something like this. We have an ethos of being multi-congregational, so creating services for different kinds of people. Some of these congregations fulfill a purpose in ministry for a certain season only. These multi-congregations act as different entry points into the faith and life of the church. One congregation is not seen as more spiritual than another, and it's not about size or numbers. We see each of these congregations as significant, and each one of them as being part of the whole church. I can hear you asking, it's a lovely model, but how do we resource each of these congregations? Luckily, as I said, I'm just here to share my model and not how to use it. Can you hear the voices, the music, the quiet, the laughter? Smell the coffee? You have to do smelling. So moving on to the last part. What does it feel like? So let's use our last sense to get a sense of what a New Zealand church feels like. What sort of feeling do you get in every environment you walk into that engenders a feeling? Like when you come home at the end of the day, how do you feel? Or when you're at the big family Christmas dinner, hopefully a nice feeling. So what feelings would we feel at our New Zealand church? A feeling of welcome would be the biggie. Someone calling me by name. I feel okay to go and pick some carrots to take home. It's okay to walk around the Remembrance Garden. I don't feel like I'm an intruder. When I walk in the doors, I'm addressed by name. They know me. And I'm only here to lead the antenatal class, yet they know my name. It physically feels warm. I don't want to rush home and put the heater on. I feel okay bringing my children here. I know they won't be told off for being noisy. I know there's a playground outside, plus toys inside that they love to play with, and there's always the honorary brother, auntie, uncle, grandma, who they will run to and spend time with as well. I feel like I could bring my friends here. It wouldn't be a big deal, and I can see them fitting in well. There wouldn't be a feeling of, I'm doing it wrong during the services. They'd be welcomed as I was welcomed. I feel like I can fit in here. I like the look of that Grow service they offer. It has food, a quiz, some Bible wisdom, and movie clips. Quite like my movies. I feel that if I had an idea for a new group, or a way we could do things better, that I could approach the ministry team and they would listen. I know they've said yes to other people, so I feel there's a culture of permission giving in this church. I feel encouraged in my faith journey here. I'm having input, I'm having fellowship, and I'm being challenged. I'm growing. I feel valued. I feel valued in my ministry at the local school. The church even commissioned me, prayed for me and our team who go out to the local school each week. I feel at home. I feel like part of the family. I feel like I belong. I trust you've all used your senses while I've been talking to know what my New Zealand church would look like, sound like, and feel like. I hope it's a place you would like to be part of. I'd like to just finish with a verse that's been sitting with me over the past week from Ephesians 3:20. Now to him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we can ask or imagine, according to his power that is at work within us, to him be the glory in the church and in Christ Jesus throughout all generations, forever and ever. Amen. Thank you.